Yes.
Too low. And I choose the one who's back to your house.
This is your fault. You got the good hair.
Look what I did, didn't I?
I know.
Well, where are you going?
This outfit with this hair? Hello, bye-bye. I am so annoying.
Mr. Feeney? Mr. Feeney!
Betty Hall.
Make out.
Thanks for coming.
Well, to kick things off, I want to roll things over to the audience pretty quickly. To start off with, a lot of people here, I assume, grew up on Boy Meets World, yes? And most of the audience raised their kids on Girl Meets World a few years ago. Yeah. I'm curious about what the four of you grew up on. Like, what were you huge fans of? The way that people are gigantic fans in this room of Boy Meets World. What was your go-to? What was it that you loved when you were a kid? I had to keep killing time while Ben does his pin around.
I can answer for Will, because I know that. But no, I actually didn't, I grew up without television. So,
I mean, books is an acceptable answer.
Oh, okay. Then let me think about it for a second.
I was a huge television fan, like a huge television fan, so MASH, Cheers, All in the Family, and then 80s cartoons are the greatest thing ever, so G.I. Joe, Transformers, Thundercats, Mask, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Everyone's like, Mask, yeah. So those are like the greatest things ever. Thank you. I know, yes, yeah, the greatest things ever, so yeah.
I watched, as a kid, I really only watched Sesame Street, and I was obsessed with what I called Bo in Oni, and I can't remember Bo Oni. Bo in Oni. That's why
I just thought it was Bert Ernie. I was like, what is button on it? What weird Muppet were you watching?
You say, I go with Bud and Ernie.
Bo in Oni. I've already got my son Bert and Ernie.
She has a son coming.
He's going to be button on it.
Bo in Oni Pop.
Ben, do you have an answer?
What's the question?
What were you a fan of growing up? What were you really super into?
Oh, I just want to go back to the boat and Oni. My nephew's like, I want to watch Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, 2. So
Wait, he wants to start with the second one?
Yeah.
Really?
Guardians of the Galaxy, Uncle B. Guardians.
Watch the cartoon, it's better. Cartoon.
What did we watch growing up? Pee-wee's Playhouse. Goonies, the movie. And of course, I don't have a third. Oh, Adventures in Babysitting.
Great movie, yeah, great movie.
Since we're allowed to not just move beyond television, Stand By Me I was obsessed with. By the time we started watching Boy Meets World, and I was interviewed about this in like one of these TV magazines, and I embarrassingly admitted I had seen that movie at that point, like 47 times or something. And it kind of makes sense actually when you think about Sean on Boy Meets World. He was like clearly like a Stand By Me inspired character who gets to this comedy. Kind of made sense.
But unfortunately, he was like the sad kid from Stand By Me.
Yeah.
He wasn't even like like the happy kid. He was like the sad, crying,
The drama.
stole the milk. Yeah,
The kid kid that you were just expecting something terrible is about to happen to him again.
All the time, right? Exactly.
Chris Chambers is the character name.
That's right. Yes.
Because I've seen that twice.
That's right. So I have a bathroom in my house where you can just write on the walls. You write all different movie quotes, and right when you walk in, I see Ryder's handwriting. It just says, "Best candy of all time, Pez. Cherry flavored Pez. No question." It's like there's a Stand By Me quote right there. We'll just talk like this the whole time.
Yeah. By the way, you're good. We're fine. I would like to say, if we're talking about movies, I watched Runaway Bride on the way here.
Which one is that?
Julia Roberts cannot commit.
Wait, didn't she like run away from like 9 different weddings?
She did.
Then don't marry that lady.
I was thinking,
Like, there's
all
a
the
funny
effort.
comedy. She keeps running out on people spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on weddings.
And the wedding dress. Oh, she has to put it on.
Yeah.
That can't be comfortable. She waits until the second she's about to say her vows, then runs.
Yeah. Maybe the problem's you.
Maybe.
It's your fault, Julia.
The ninth one.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what we're going to talk about for the whole time.
Anyone want to jump in here with a movie?
I'm going to throw one more at you, and then we're going to turn it over to the audience. The 4 of you grew up at different stages of your life, relatively speaking, making the show. And something that I've heard you all talk about in interviews is the kind of atmosphere that Michael Jacobs created on this show that made it not the typical, child acting experience atmosphere and way to be on a set as a kid and so on. What was it that he did that made the show itself, not just work, but a comfortable, safe place?
Hit it.
Yeah, I didn't hit any of that. I think what Michael did and what all the directors did and our student teachers and the writers is treat us like adults from day one and respect us as actors, which, a lot of times isn't the case on sets, unfortunately. It's like, you're a kid and you're kind of like treated like an animal, like just don't startle the kids. And
Put peanut butter on his mouth.
yeah,
Don't say the last
smile. I mean, literally, there are stories of very, very successful child actors who were fed cookies for saying lines correctly.
There's one that I knew, I'm not going to say any names, that there were rattles involved, where it was literally they were trying to get this person to pay attention, and they had like a rattle going, and the kid would look up, and they, it's horrifying.
I'm not going to say any names, but we know people whose set chairs were handcuffed together because they always wanted to know where they were. No, the kids. They're directors' chairs. They handcuffed them.
So we had a very loving environment, and
Only a few shackles.
only some, yeah. No, what Michael what singled Michael out as opposed to a lot of other writers or executive producers is his note sessions. We would do a run through. So they're rewriting the script. We shoot in 5 days. Or we rehearse for 4 days, and on the 5th day they bring in an audience and we do it. But in the process, we're doing a run through for all the writers, and they give us notes and then rewrite the script. Usually note sessions are about 15 minutes. We're like, oh, you missed this joke here, try restaging that. Michael's could last up to 2 hours. And he would sit with us and go line by line through the script, and in that process, teach us a lot about acting and comedy. And his references none of us would ever get, because it would be like, in the 1947 edition of blah, and like, Jesus, but we learned a lot. And it was always respectful, and he was always teaching us about, our craft. So it was a great environment.
I remember one thing that he used to do fairly often. I think he did it with all of us, but he certainly did it with me. And it might sound like it's in a way kind of mean or cruel, but it was one of the best lessons I ever had. Is he would come down and he'd say, "Just remember that this is going to end." Like, it was because one of those things, you're on a television show and it's popular and you think you're so cool, and he would always keep us down to earth by being like, "Yeah, we're having a great time, and someday this is going to be over. So you have to remember that this is going to be over by the time it's done." I mean, I was the oldest person on the show with all of us. I was 23 when the show ended. So it's like, what do you do now? So that was one thing he did that was, I think, very important and helpful, was like, just remember this is all going to end someday, so don't think that you're the greatest person in the world, you got to go on and have the rest of your life. And that was really important, actually.
Yeah, to Ryder's point where he's talking about treating us like adults, like, we can talk about how we felt safe and it was comfortable and all those things, but he was also, Michael was demanding. He had an idea in mind, he knew what he wanted, he wasn't gonna settle for anything less than that. He didn't really like to watch the show from behind the monitor side, which is where most executives watch. He likes to stand and watch them like in between where the cameras are. And so we'd be filming something and he would have just given us a note, and in the middle of the take, he'd just go, no! And stop, and then he'd stop in the middle and he'd walk right out and he'd give us the note and tell us to do it again until we did it in the way that he wanted.
Until he gave us a cookie.
Exactly, and so, like Ryder said, the note sessions, now we've all, we've moved on into different phases of our career and doing different things, and I've been fortunate enough to direct a lot now, and I know I can very single-handedly point to the fact that I know how to break down a script and find beats in a script because of Michael's note sessions that I wouldn't normally have known, because he explained all of that. This is what I was thinking when I wrote this. This is why this happens. Do you know why that happens? This is why this happens. And we would find layers and things that otherwise wouldn't jump out off the page without him explaining it. So that was very helpful.
On a totally different note, I spilled a whole lot of tea on myself on the way here. It's my undershirt. And as you'll see, I looks like I took two with the chest here. So I'm going to give this to whoever has the best question today. It is passion fruit tea, so it's got Bill's passion. And somebody's going to get this, so make sure your questions are good. And
Quickly changing up really terrible questions.
nobody wants to win.
Great one, but now.
Well, there you go. There's some incentive today.
You can play, Ben. I was going to ask if I could have that autograph.
I'll get it from Sean Ashton for you.
One of the things that I look back on this journey that we all had together was that, as you can tell, we were always having such a good time on the set. So for me, that was what I always take away from that, was that no matter what was going on, like, I just felt like you're kind of with family. And every time we were doing a scene, I was just always having the best time. So, your work life and your personal life and your social life all kind of blended. I just always had the best time with them, and I still do. So it's always fun when we're behind the camera together. It's true.
We were talking about something else. I wasn't listening.
I just have very fond memories of working with all of you. And
that does not win my shirt.
I was going for the sentimental approach.
You're almost there, but here, I'll throw Ben one more, see if he can take it home. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about working with William Daniels. Now, all of you worked with William Daniels, Mr. Feeney, but Ben, you in particular, what was that was a very long relationship that you had with him as a colleague. But were you looking up to him as a mentor? Were you having conversations with him?
I did, and I know Danielle, Will, and Ryder can all speak to this, but for me, it was always, he was just such a respected actor when he started with the show. And so when Bill would come on set, it was like you really felt like you were the presence of a very accomplished, prestigious actor. And everyone on the show was talented, the whole cast was great, but I always relished my scenes with Bill because you felt like you really had to step up your game a lot, because he was such a professional on set, and he was so he was such a perfectionist. But I learned a lot from him as an actor, and I really enjoyed my time with him. And not a lot of people get to work with someone of that stature, so it was very exciting for me, and I know it was for everybody else.
Was Bill a notorious prankster? I mean, what was he like on the set?
He was very, he was the consummate professional. So he would show up day one, memorize the entire episode, even though it was kind of like a waste of energy because they always rewrote your lines. But every morning he would be there.
Did you ever get something like, right, that's not your line?
Yeah, no. The funny thing about his voice is I didn't really know who he was, but I had seen Knight Rider before, and we were doing a note session, and our executive producer Michael, so he goes, Michael, and I'm like, I know that voice. And then I remember asking him if he was from England. And he's like, no, it does sound like that though, Joe. doesn't it? I'm like, yeah, it really does. He was super nice. I actually really enjoyed seeing Bill recently. We did a convention with him. He's 93 now.
92.
And his wife Bonnie is amazing. She's also an incredibly successful actress. They were on St. Elsewhere together. They worked together a couple times, and she was on our show a couple times. And it's been really nice to get to know them as a couple, because Bill is very private, and when he's at work, and she's the exact opposite. She is just talkative, very actory, emotional.
And telling us things about Bill that makes Bill go like, Ronnie.
So we're getting the real skinny now. It's hang out with them, and it's awesome. It's like, oh my god, all those years we just thought he was so buttoned up and professional, but we're getting the true story now. It's great.
Will, do you want to talk about working with Bill? Did you like him?
Bill and
Very quickly falling out.
Bill and I worked together a lot because I think the characters were so different that I had to go to Michael and say I want to do a scene with Bill, and we did a scene where then Eric was dating Mr. Feeney's niece, and that was kind of the first time I got to work with Bill, and they went, oh, there's something about this that kind of works, and they stuck us together a lot. And so he and I have a very special relationship. That was the thing. It was also kind of the same thing with Michael Jacobs. Bill never treated us as kids. We were not children. We were just other actors he was working with. I don't care that you're 11. I know this is your job. And he was never cruel, but he could be a stern taskmaster at times because he was a child actor. So he knew what he expected of himself, and he expected that of everyone he worked with. It didn't matter what your age was. You have a job, and this is what you're here to do. So. We had a very interesting set in that way, and I think nothing prepared us to go out into the world, especially the entertainment industry, like being on that set with those actors and directors and producers and writers and teachers, and it was great. You hear a lot of horror stories about, we always joked that the real true Hollywood story of Boy Meets World would have been really boring. Because we weren't drug addicts, we weren't clubbing, we were actors doing a job, enjoying ourselves, and being on a show we loved.
Danielle, did working with Bill influence the way that you have worked as a director?
Good question. I think maybe in the way that I like Will said, he could be a stern taskmaster at times. We always felt a little bit like we could be totally ourselves and goof around and have a great time when Bill wasn't in the scene, and then when Bill was in the scene, we all felt like, we gotta be serious. And we didn't want to let him down, and he was such a perfectionist. He would shake out of fear that he wasn't going to remember all of his lines. And meanwhile, all of us were like, who cares? We'll just do it again. Whatever, as soon as it does something. And so I think now as a director, when I work with, I direct a lot of Disney Channel shows, and so there's adults on them, and then there's kids on them. And so I think it's changed the way I see that dynamic and how I let the freedoms that I will, as a director, allow kids to have in a scene when it's just them by themselves versus when there's another adult actor there. It is affected the way I kind of keep them on task.
I always just liked getting Bill to say, Michael. Anytime I can hear him say that. Michael. You guys have seen Knight Rider, yeah.
All right, now let's find out who's going to win Will's discarded stained clothes.
I took my best shot and I didn't get it, so I will decide at the end.
I have two questions, but who pulled the best prank on set or off set? Doesn't have to be one of y'all, and what was the prank? And then what was your favorite episode to shoot, and who was your favorite person to work with? I think we all know that today.
She said 2, and I think we got 3 questions.
That was a final exam.
Is this essay? I will.
Section A.
Well, so maybe to start off with, was it a very pranky set? Were you pulling pranks on each other or tricking each other in anything?
I know that one of the cast members and I used to prank each other all the time. It was Tony Quinn, Anthony Tyler Quinn, who was the Mr. Turner. He and I would prank each other, and I remember one day coming to the set and opening my dressing room door, or trying to, because he had packed furniture and garbage from floor to ceiling and all the way across. Full. It must have taken hours. It was amazing.
I like that guy, but he's a legend to me now.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. So that was the best one that I can remember because it was like he was the guy when you'd start something small, like like I moved your salad fork, and he'd flip your car upside down. So that was totally great. Where it was like, oh, that's not the guy to prank. Okay, because he really takes it to that. It's not like the little graduate. It's like he jumps to the next one. So yeah, he was certainly interesting. As for my favorite episode to shoot, I don't like to speak for everybody, but we always say this because it's kind of was our favorite episode to shoot. We just call it the Scream episode. But I think it was called The Name of the Show, which was the Halloween episode, which we didn't have an audience that week. The entire episode, we were just trying to make each other laugh. And some of the scenes they used, you could see one of us laughing in the background because we just couldn't get through it. So that was I think our favorite.
Who was your favorite to work?
And like guest stars, any notable guest stars that dropped in on the show?
Main cast member.
Or a main cast member?
That were our favorite to work with.
I think we all know who Ben is.
It seems like you know better than he does.
Here.
Who was it?
The teacher that y'all were just talking about.
Mr. Feedy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was my favorite.
Am I allowed to say it? It was
I
7
think
years.
you have a man crush on Mr. Feedy, honestly. That's how energetic he was about talking.
Well, look, I think we tested out of English for the first year of college at this point. I think we covered just about all of it. Let's roll on to the next
Can I
one.
say one thing?
Well, you're allowed to do whatever you want.
Just to answer your question, what was always interesting to me is that we had, we always would have these kind of old school comedians come by our show. And so we had comedians that, I was 14 years old, I didn't know who these people were, but we had like Buddy Hackett and Suki Sales. I mean, all these Phyllis Diller was a guest star on our show as well. So we had all these really esteemed comedians come by the show, and to me, I think I've grown to appreciate the fact that I was working with them later in life than probably I did at the time. But we always have these random guest stars like the Love Boat cast.
Yeah.
Ted Lange and Bertie Capel were on the show. And it was wonderful to work with them at the time, but I think as we kind of grew, I really appreciated getting a chance to work with them.
We did. We had some television royalty on the show. Ruba Clanahan was our grandmother. I mean, there's some great people on the show.
Danielle's parents, Peter.
Yeah, Danielle's 19 different parents. I think 6 or 7 of our little sisters were pretty famous.
Next up, go for it.
First, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I've grown up with the show, and it really helped me a lot, especially with episodes that dealt with Topanga's parents divorcing and with Sean's absentee father. I've experienced that myself, and it just really helped me a lot to see how the characters grew from there. So I thank each and every one of you for not just those episodes, but the show entirely. Really helped me.
Very
Thank
sweet.
you.
My question is for each of you. What would be the best piece of advice that you could give for those who are looking to work in the acting industry, also in the voice acting industry? I also grew up with Batman Beyond. So.
Advice-wise, there's so many different ways to go. For me, I think you just have to, if you want to be an actor, you just have to act every chance you get. So if that means signing up for a class and getting, doing a weekly acting class, do it. If you can get, doing a play somewhere. But I've noticed, especially now that I've gotten, older and have so many friends in the industry, I've noticed that the ones who just keep working and are always willing to my brother and I write and direct stuff, and we'll have projects and ideas, and we have friends who are very successful actors, but they don't always show up, they don't always come and do something, whereas I have other friends who the second I'm like, hey, we need a couple actors for this, they're there in a heartbeat. And those are the people that now we write stuff for, because it changes their attitude and their willingness to just be part of it. So as far as advice, if you can get into the mindset of don't think about being a movie star. Just think about being the person who shows up and has a good time and acts, and you will get work. And people will want to be around you, and directors and writers will want to put you in things because they like working with you, because you're reliable. So that advice right there, talent is something you can't really control. Do you have it? Do you don't? I mean, you can work on it, but I don't know if it's something you can really like learn how to act. I think you either can do it or you can't, or you have an interest or you don't. And I think you can hone the skill, but it's really about your attitude and your sort of can-do spirit.
As for voiceover, go online and do Steve Bloom's classes or D. Bradley Baker's classes. That's the best thing you can do.
D. Bradley Baker has a great website.
Yeah.
I want to be a voice actor.
I want to be a voice actor. He answers all your questions. And just remember, voice acting, it's no different. You're an actor. So you just happen to be using a different instrument, but that's all you're doing is acting. So that's all it's about.
I always feel bad when I answer this question because it seems like such a curmudgeonly thing to say, but one of the best things that ever happened to me was finding what my plan B was that I loved just as much as plan A. So for me, made the decision at 10 years old that I wanted to be an actor, and then at like 27 years old, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, but I don't know what else to do. Like, I'm not good at anything else. I've been doing this my whole life. And I went to college then late in life, and I studied psychology, and then I was going to get my master's degree in marriage and family therapy when Girl Meets World came around. And once I found that, psychology, and I loved it just as much as I loved acting, and I knew that if I ever made the decision to not work in entertainment anymore, I knew what else I was going to do that was going to fulfill me just as much. It made working in entertainment so much better because it wasn't a desperation feeling. So my best piece of advice is know what else drives you and gives you passion that you love just as much as your number one passion.
That's a good answer. You're in the
Follow
money,
that.
sure. You're in the money.
This is wonderful advice. Are you writing this down? This is good for me. I didn't know you were supposed to show up when your friends ask you to do something. And now I've got a voiceover now, and I need a backup plan, and all these things are going on. Seriously, it's wonderful advice that they're giving. I would just add and just say that you really need a strength of character, because there's a tremendous amount of rejection in this industry, as is in any industry. But it was just to add on to what Ryder said, that I think the core of your character, just the ability to keep going, to overcome adversity, to rise above negativity, and to just keep pursuing what you want to do. And I think that's kind of an important philosophy for a lot of things in life, that if you just kind of focus on something you want, go for it, and you just rise above the negativity and just keep pursuing what you want, I think you'll be okay. And like Danielle said, if it's not that, you'll find another passion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello. This question is for everyone. I was wondering if there was ever any scene or story arc that you always wanted to do in the series that you never got to. So, some character twist. Take myself out of the running for the shirt.
I didn't say anything. I'm just intrigued. I don't think we've heard this question before.
Ask this question.
It's a good question. A story arc we never had before. Wow.
No. Well, I mean, this is a really cop-out answer, but I really would have liked to have worked with Will more. But the problem is we couldn't keep a straight face. We went to the producers and said, give us a scene together. So there's one scene in season 7 that we have together, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster. We could not act together. But I would have loved to have done that, and that it would have been fun, because Will and I are great friends, but we actually never had scenes together. And that was one of the reasons why the Scream episode was so fun, is because it was one of the few times when, because usually, sitcom storylines are an A and B storyline. It was always the A storyline was either me, Ben, and Danielle, and guest star of the week, and then Will always had the B storyline, so he was always off doing his own thing, and part of that was because they had to schedule the school. I mean, we were still in school, so we had to do 3 or 4 hours of school a day. So our schedule was being shifted around, and we just never got to work together. So I would love working with Will if we can keep it together. So yeah, any storyline would have done that.
I agree, and I think the funny thing is that you, as an actor too, you're always looking at it's almost like the grass is always greener. You're always looking at I always looked at the stuff they were doing, and I was like, they're doing a dramatic story and they're getting to act and all that stuff. And even people that come up in the panel, they're like, I want to thank you for, really helping me get through, my parents' divorce or an absentee dad. Very rarely do you hear people come up and go, hey, I want to thank you for the character of Eric because it helped me when I sneezed the lottery number. So I always wanted to be on like a more dramatic show, and we wanted to be more wacky. So it was always, that's always the way I do it.
It's sort of like we were pitching the coolest road trip buddy comedy.
Yeah,
like Disney Plus. Disney Plus.
Yeah,
Disney Plus, let's go.
Yeah, we never had. I just got Danielle.
We don't like half the time we didn't even read that side of the script. We just be like, why is he in a turtleneck and on stage? What's happening? We were actually in a lobster suit this week.
I haven't watched the show. I think maybe I watched it when it was first on, like as a kid. I haven't watched it since. So sometimes people ask us, like, do you remember when this happened? And I'll be like, ooh, no. I'll tell you, you probably know better than I do at this point.
Yeah.
But you just oh my God, that brought back
In a helmet. As I'm slammed against the
You also ate a piece of pizza in one bite.
Yeah.
It was so impressive. It was so impressive in person. And then also, there was that pool episode where you had to hit all the pool balls, and you did it on the first take.
Was it
It
really?
was literally the first take.
Yeah. And then you guys were on a show too, where you were an alcoholic for an episode, and you guys were married at age 8, and you joined a cult. That's right. It was,
Blew up a mailbox.
you gave up Yale for Pembroke. So it was fun. I loved watching your show. It was great. We were never together. We were all never together. And when we were, it was when we got me and the couch and us laughing hysterically, and we had a ton of fun. We had a ton of fun. We did. That's probably why it separated us so much.
I was just gonna say, I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I have when the four of us are in a scene together. It's still, there are literally scenes where I'm just crying. We had to stop, and you could hear the director of that week sighing audibly, like, and it's like, take 30. There were times where I'd be like, have to look at Ryder, and like, Ryder's lip would start like, shaking. I'm like, Sean! And I just like, had to look down, and I'm like, crying. I don't know. But I think that Will's selling himself short. I think Will's saying, sneezing the lottery, but I think Will made everyone in this room smile and laugh for so many years. Everyone has struggles in life, and everyone has a tough time, and everyone has hurdles to overcome, and I think that if you can make someone laugh, it means the world to them. So
Well, we all did. We were all making people laugh. That's one thing, is because we were trying to make each other laugh. I think that's always where the best comedy comes from. Is when you're trying to make each other laugh, everyone's laughing at that. That's why, we just lost one of the greatest comedians ever in Tim Conway, and to see he and Harvey Korman together trying to make each other laugh, it gave us some of the best comedy you'll ever see. And I think we, obviously we weren't them, but we had that kind of a comedic relationship where it's like, if I can get that person to break, then I know I'm doing something right. And we would go at each other. It was a ton of fun.
did Bill Daniels ever break? Did he ever break?
Do you remember when the desk chair broke?
Oh, yeah. I think he kind of broke there. Yeah. We have that on film. I have that, yeah.
Scary.
We do you remember the end of the war episode, with the Plays with Squirrels episode. The end of it, all of us come together on the desk with Bill Daniels, and we hug each other. We go, ah! And the first time that we hugged each other, literally the whole desk collapsed.
It's an amazing outtake.
We have it.
We should just post it.
Yeah, we should. We actually have that where the whole
We all
thing
just
collapsed.
start losing.
Like trying to make sure none of us are broken.
Yeah, we're like looking at each other.
Can't get up easily. We're like, is everyone
Yeah,
okay?
that's when we got the third little sister, because the second one.
Do you guys remember
you're in the running. All right, thank you.
It's difficult to not just let them run completely wild. All right, go for it.
A little vertically challenged. So just in general, I want to say all of y'all have aged so well, especially Ron Stoppable.
Non-stoppable doesn't age, booyah.
So just in general, you know, as someone who grew up on the show, I'm 25 now. My sister and I would always be playing the show, and then when I'm on commercial, we would go to the bathroom like, oh my God, it's back on! Oh my God, you gotta come back! And she just in general was sobbing that I'm meeting Topanga and she hasn't met her because she knows Jackie Day, your manager.
Okay.
She hadn't met me yet, but she says hi. Anyways, so just in general, as someone who's just grown up watching you guys, what was it like? What is it like just knowing that this many people times a lot have been?
Except for the gentleman walking out right there in the hat. Now running. Good day, sir. There's that guy. Go, this isn't the key for Sutherland Ken. So one last name.
Solid Snake, not that.
So what is it like just knowing that you've had such a direct impact on so many people like us, and then just growing up on the show yourself? How did that impact you as a person, and knowing that? Whoa! Just basically, how has it impacted you as a person, knowing that you had such a direct impact on
You guys have all done a number of these conventions. It's got the surreality of the stuff that people come up to your table and talk to you about, the personal stories they talk about, the things that we've heard some of it already here this evening, that the show has helped people get through. What has that experience been like for you guys?
Yeah, that.
Super.
It's okay, you've got this, we're a team.
It's been super, super positive. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, yeah, you know, we've talked about this before, so sorry if everyone's heard of it, but like when Boy Meets World was on the air, we actually weren't the most popular show. You know, we were like the second or third tier TGIF show, and we got to the point where we felt like nobody was watching, and we just kind of were like making each other laugh. And there was no social media, there was barely an internet, like we just didn't have, and I remember like when the show ended, I was like, okay, I'll just go back to normal life. I went to school in New York, and then it started airing on Disney Channel, and then I started getting mobbed, like, you know, my kids, if I got on the subway when high school let out, it was like disaster. And so I started realizing, oh, this isn't going away. And what's interesting is I don't think those two things are separate. Like, I think because we're sort of flying under the radar, our show was weird, you know, our show did weird things. It's a comedy show where, like, we had, like, you know, a baby in intensive care for 2 episodes, and I became an alcoholic. Like, we dealt with so much stuff that I don't think if, like, ABC had thought through, if they were watching the show, they would have been like, guys, pull it back, you know. So we were free to be very creative and do things that we wouldn't have done otherwise, because I felt like we were just sort of going along. And that's turned out to be the lasting value of the show, I think, is that it took all those weird risks, that it had these tonal shifts, that we did things like the Scream episode, which is just insane. And I think that those are the things that hope, you know, I think that resonated with people and made it last. It wasn't a very safe show in a weird way. So yeah, it's really satisfying to meet you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely true. One of the things that Ryder and I were actually just talking about during our photo ops was we are constantly amazed at which specific things in the show resonated with people. Because you never know, like somebody comes in and they want you to take the role, sure. Like that was something that resonated with certain people. And things with squirrels with certain people, and you don't, it's lines that maybe we didn't even remember doing that for some reason really resonated with the audience, and we never know what it's going to be. So that's kind of a cool thing to see now, like, oh, which one's like, wow, that one. Like, again, I was Plays with Squirrels for 4 minutes in 7 years. And it's everybody, it's like,
And people cosplay
and all, and it's awesome. It's amazing. You never know what kind of sticks with people. It's cool. Yeah. I agree. It's not a test. You don't have to answer me. What I was going to say was,
I was just listening to Will that sometimes we would go to set and we were joking around and having fun, and especially towards the later years, we were kind of just throwing caution to the wind and really enjoying. And one day I said underpants in a funny way, and
it has followed you ever since.
yeah, and you never know. But on another note, I think that, again, like Ryder said, it does mean the world to us that the show resonated with people. And we're very proud of the episodes. We did joke around a lot, but we did work very hard on each episode. We really put our heart and souls into every episode. And as much fun as we were having, these are very talented, professional, dedicated actors. So they were able and confident enough to have fun, but they were also extremely good at what they did and what they do. And so I think that, when people recognize that, it's wonderful. And the fact that people are still, celebrating and enjoying what we did so many years later, I mean, that's a really wonderful thing for an actor to be able to do.
Yeah, I mean, some actors spend their entire lives trying to have just one role that anyone remembers. And so the fact that we have been lucky enough to play characters that people have not only remembered, but are still talking about decades later is like, that's literally a once in a lifetime opportunity. And we were given it, so we don't take it lightly, and we appreciate you all very much.
Yeah.
So, good news and bad news. The good news is they're going to be back at their tables after this. The bad news is we've only got a few minutes left, so let's try to get through as many people as we can, as quick as we can.
Just yes or no questions or colors.
And you know what? A yes or no question could win that shirt.
All right, so just so everybody in this room knows, you think you have a question to ask the amazing Boy Meets World cast until you get up here, and then you have to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back. But I wanted to ask you guys a question that was kind of an add-on to the question earlier about your favorite episode. I'm sure you've had a million times. But as a huge Disney head, and seeing that we're in Orlando right now, my favorite episode, the greatest episode of all time, the Walt Disney World episode. Talk to me a little bit about the process of the Walt Disney World episode. Did you get to hang out, ride rides? Was it mainly working? Did you get unlimited fast passes forever?
I'll let you finish your question, but Ryder and I filmed a scene on Splash Mountain, and I remember we had to get there before the park opened, so we started at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and Ryder and I just kept on riding that ride over and over. I've never had so much fun. The park was empty, and Ryder and I just, and that song really gets in your head.
Badass intro. It was amazing. Will was great in that episode.
Yeah, I was not invited to Disney World, so you can't have me. Thanks for bringing that up. Lost a cat a couple years ago. Want to talk about that?
What are you doing when we get out of here?
It was awesome. They, I mean, we basically
I think it was Tower of Terror came out too.
Yeah, no, they were changing Tower of Terror.
Right.
So we got to ride the Tower of Terror after the park was closed alone.
Like 12 times.
Like 12 times. As many times as we wanted.
Sounds awesome.
So we got
Really start the weekend off right.
Yeah, we never had to wait in lines. We were working, but if we weren't in a scene, we had somebody, a Disney cast member, who took us around and would slip us into lines, and it was so much fun.
During that time, were you on the Disney Channel? Because I can imagine if you were, you'd be getting swarmed by people.
Yeah, it was before they started doing the reruns.
Yeah.
Well, this panel brought to you by Walt Disney World. Walt Disney World. Available for everyone but Will.
That's awesome. I heard the stories too. Like, was your bed made of candy like mine? Like, oh, sounds great. That was when I had the fake Ben doll, I think. Like the giant Cory doll that I was supposed to make it seem like you guys didn't slip off to Florida as kids. Your parents didn't notice because I had a giant...
Ryder and Danielle, we should all just go ride. We will here. Seriously.
Next up, I think we got time for
you lost.
2 more. Powerful loss.
Is everybody holding cameras?
Yeah.
A lot of budding cinematographers in Orlando.
First of all, I want to comment on one of the favorite movies comment. Stand By Me is still one of my favorite all-time movies, classics. I still watch it to this day, next to the Goonies. So my question for you is still Disney related. If you were to pick any Disney character to be best friends with, who would it be and why? And that includes the Marvel Universe as well.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Disney owns everything, so it's like saying, pick a character.
Pick a character. Princess Bride, Alien.
I mean, because it includes Star Wars universe.
Everything, right? They own everything. Yeah.
Just pick a thing.
Yeah. I'd be friends with Han Solo.
Really?
I want to think about this. You guys go ahead.
I'm gonna be terrible at this. I have no idea. Ariel?
I wouldn't be friends with anybody from Frozen. Sorry, I watched that movie again. It snowed for 2 weeks and they freaked out. What are we gonna do? It snowed for 2 weeks in the mountains and everyone was up in arms. So none of that. Maybe Beast from Beauty and the Beast. I think he'd be cool to hang out with for a little while. Yeah, I think that'd be a good one. Or Thor, because he could just take it.
Indiana Jones?
I don't know Indiana Jones. Okay, we don't have anything.
I think it'd be fun to hang out with Indiana Jones. That's a good one.
Might be dangerous, but probably fun.
Yes, but exciting.
All right.
And I also want to add one side question to one of the questions.
We got to do one last one after you. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure we get to as many people as we can.
Come see us at the table.
Yeah, they'll be at the table. Go for it.
Okay, I'm Christopher Will.
Yes.
Now that Critical Role has reached their stretch goals and they're going to have like a guest battle royale, who are you going to fight first? Like, who are you going to go after first?
Who am I going to go after first? Oh, geez. So Critical Role is a Dungeons & Dragons show that we play. Yeah. I can tell you that I don't know who I'm going to go after first, but I know it's a battle royale and you're supposed to kill everybody, but I got to protect Zara as much as I can, and I think she's going to protect me right on the way back. So I think everybody's going to have trouble if we team up. Thank you. Okay, last one.
Like turtleneck shirt, the red and white stripe. It's so
Yeah.
cute. You look adorable.
So my husband and I watch Starry Night every year on our anniversary. It's our show.
Aww.
And I want to know, I've heard that there was a candy drawer in the Matthews kitchen. Did anyone get that?
Did anyone what?
Take it from the set?
That's a good question. The candy drawer? Did anybody take the candy drawer?
I don't think we took the drawer.
On the
but
set?
Yeah.
I mean, what did you abscond with from the set?
I stole a painting during my house. It's a painting of Robert Nighthawk, who's a great jazz musician, guitar player, and it used to hang in the college, what was the college area? The common room.
Yeah.
And our last night of taping, I was with Danielle actually. We were sitting in our stands, hanging out after the audience left, and I'm like, I'm taking that. Throw it in my truck right now. And yeah, I didn't tell Michael until about 10 years later. Now he knows.
I don't think I took anything.
I didn't. I think maybe some clothes I had, but that's about it. I have there's a Matthews family portrait above our living.
You took that?
That's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
And somehow it ended up in your house.
I took William Russ. Still living with me. We played our dad. Yeah, he's in my closet.
I took the hang gliding, which I thought was.
I took the leather jacket too. I took Sean's leather
leather
jacket and I got stung.
It was Eric's leather jacket.
It was not Eric's leather.
It was Eric's leather
Don't
jacket
listen to this
first.
man.
It was Eric's leather jacket
And it
first.
clearly did not fit him because then they gave it to me.
Yeah, because you were the cool guy and I was easy lottery numbers. So. Give him a really cool leather jacket that was Eric's.
The jacket was stolen out of my car in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I know.
Wait, so you don't have another jacket?
Oh my god.
Does someone here? No.
I mean, to tag off the Indiana Jones.
But now someone can get a
It
t-shirt.
belongs in the museum.
It does belong in a museum.
Next to Fonzie's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it should be in the Smithsonian.
I agree. Some hipster in Williamsburg, we gotta track it down.
I have a lot of t-shirts.
Yeah.
We got time for one more?
I have one that says shovel.
Yeah.
Shovel.
Well,
Let's do one more.
One
One more. Thank you.
one more.
We're doing one more, is that it?
Yeah, that's it. But they'll be back at the table right afterwards.
Wait a second. Are you chivalrously? Are you gonna give up your question to the one behind you?
No.
You looked like you was coming. I was gonna guarantee you the shirt. You're so close. No one wants the shirt.
What if you share? I should share a question.
I'm just trying to get rid of him at this point.
You should share a question.
Finish each other's sentences.
Pretty much during the original version of your show, I was growing up in the wrong way as being accused of gay and everything. However, no one didn't know that I had autism, and I know that when your revival of Girl Meets World came out, you did an episode centered around that. So with that being said, how do you guys know what autism is besides doing that episode?
I mean, when you had those special issues that were something that came up in various episodes across both shows, how did you find the process of learning more about the very sensitive subject matter that you were covering? How did you handle that responsibility?
Well, particularly to your question, and when I was talking earlier about finding a plan B and like knowing what you want to do other than acting, one of the jobs that I did after Boy Meets World ended was I went and worked at a school as a teacher's assistant for special needs 1 to 3-year-olds. And a lot of them were children that had not necessarily been diagnosed with autism, but were most likely falling somewhere on the spectrum. And I spent a year at that school, and it was amazing, and it was incredible. And I got to see, how difficult it can be for families to, to learn to interact with and to overcome and to try and, fit into normal society and be accepted. And so that was my personal experience with it.
I'd also like to add, the episode you're talking about specifically is the autism episode. Is that correct?
Correct.
They researched these episodes like crazy. I mean, there was so much effort done into the research. And what you don't know when you're watching these episodes is that every single word is scrutinized by not just our writing staff and the actors themselves, but by Disney. There's several people there that work. We actually brought on consultants for any particular episode that we thought was particularly sensitive. I'm sorry?
I work for Walt Disney World right now.
Okay, so, and I if I'm correct, I delivered a bit of a speech on that, on autism, about being a spectrum. And I remember that during that speech in particular, there was people from Disney Channel, as well as consultants, making sure that every single word was not just accurate, but also respectful. So, we do put a lot of background into the effort.
And I do have a second question, but I want to ask you that about that actor too, but I want to ask it here.
You know what? You're my best hype man. They will be back at their table after this, so follow up.
John Tooney.
Let's hear it for Don, everybody.
One last question? Yeah, one last question.
I can never help being overridden.
Yes, one last question.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you again for helping me with my pregnancy announcement and just making a little bit of notes. But since I'm pregnant and everything, I wanted to know a quick question. If you could live off of one food forever, what would it be?
We saved the difficult questions for last.
One food forever?
One food.
Can it be 2 foods?
One food can be 2 foods. One food forever? Could it be 2 foods?
You're the guy who's like, you get 3 wishes. I wish for 1,000 more wishes.
I want dinner and dessert, so you only get one.
You get one food.
Sushi. Sushi. That's it. Hands down.
Dinner?
Mexican food. Mexican.
So you can go broad then?
Yeah, sure.
Mexican, okay. American food. Is that cover burgers, hot dogs, pizza, American?
That's a lot of pressure. I think she's end on.
We know this is for sure. It's Chinese food. You order the same Chinese dish.
That's not true.
Loves Chinese food. He just loves Chinese food.
And cookie dough. I wouldn't mind.
Thank you guys so much.
This is One Broke Gamer Girl. I just want to say a big thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you just watched, then go ahead and hit that like button down below. One more thing, since you've already hit the like button down below. You've already hit the like button down below, right? Well then, why not go ahead and go one step further and leave a comment too? Since you've already hit the like button and left a comment, you did both of those already, right? Then why not just take one more tiny little step and hit the subscribe button as well? Just one more thing, since you've already come this far, would you kindly check out the links in the description? That way you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and maybe even check out my blog.